Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Rise to the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is, as advertised, this is a public hearing to discuss the proposed wind law, which is proposed law number 2 of 2018, titled Wind Energy Facilities. Note that we will give you each 3 minutes to speak. We'll ask you to step forward, address the board only, state your name and your address. This is not going to be a question and answer period from the board. This is for the board to listen to your concerns. So in addition to advertising it in the newspaper, copies were hand-delivered, correct, to Town of Parisville, Town of Lawrence, and Town of Stockholm. So they were aware of this. And also the environmental form, the seeker, has been forwarded to DEC and has been posted on the town website. We also have just been handed some correspondence. First one from Young and Summer, dated March 28th. This will be reviewed by the board later, and if anyone would like a copy, they can approach the town clerk, and she will make a copy during her office hours. We will look into the possibility of placing them on the website. Also received something from Frank Potenziano, same thing. Also tonight, between this afternoon and tonight, I received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 emails, 9 against the project and 1 recommending it. Those will also be available. Also was handed 4 sheets of paper from concerned residents that request that they are in support of passing the proposed wind law as written. Oh, add that. There's a bunch more. Yeah. So with that, we will start. Steve is going to be our timekeeper, so we will start the meeting. Yes, sir. Step forward.
Where do you want?
Right up here in front of us. Right there.
Go for it.
That's good.
I'm going to look this way.
You're going to look right at us.
Tell me if you need me to talk louder. I'll do my best. All right, my name's Mike Fournier. I'm from Malone. I'm the founder, if anybody's heard of a group called FARM. F-A-R-M stands for Friends Against Rural Mismanagement. If I run out of time, maybe you can donate me a minute. We're throughout the entire North Country. There's people in almost every little town now that are becoming members. If you need more information on that, just go to FARM 12953. FARM and Malone zip code. All right. Back when Cuomo was still the Attorney General, there was a lot of windmills going up east of Malone. And through the course of all that, and we knew sooner or later it was going to hit Malone, that's when I got active in this and I started looking into things. I'm not going to give you my opinion pro or for this, but I want everyone, especially this board, to be aware of pitfalls, because once it's too late, those are famous last words. I exposed 2 towns for conflicts of interest. Based on that, eventually, the Attorney General Cuomo at the time formed a commission. One of the commissioners, or one of the members, was Derek Champagne, District Attorney in Malone. He was part of that. Based on conflicts of interest. The final one, I won't get into a lot of the detail, but one board member, I believe the wind company sold his wife a piece of land. She signed a contract. Another board member had a son-in-law and a daughter on his land that he, quote, gave them, they signed a contract. There's a moratorium going on. Their family members already signed a contract. Then there's a moratorium. It's pretty reasonable to see right off the bat as a conflict of interest. If they vote, why are they going to vote no? They've already signed the contracts, a wife and family. One of the laws now is a tuxedo doctrine. I don't know if that's related to my stuff or not, but I know that commission was. But just so I can read this briefly in the record. Ethics laws are both a sword and a shield designed to protect the public from municipal contracts influenced by avaricious officers and to protect innocent public officers from unwarranted assaults on integrity. The tuxedo doctrine, it's not about a conflict of interest. Even the appearance of a conflict of interest, you can't participate as a public officer. An appearance of impropriety results when an officer's personal situation may affect the public's perception of his or her ability to act impartially in the best interest of the taxpayer as a whole. Government officials must maintain public conflict in the integrity of government. They must avoid even the appearance of impropriety. And another quote taken out of that law. The test to be applied is not whether there's a conflict, but whether there might be. It is the policy of the law to keep the official so far from temptation as to ensure his unselfish devotion to the public interest. So there's nothing to do if there's a conflict. We're not impugning anyone's integrity, but if there's even a possible appearance, you have to act.
Sorry, that's
Can you
No.
tell me? Someone
No.
give me a minute.
No, we can't allow that.
They don't allow us minutes.
Well, sorry for wasting your time, folks. But that says a mouthful if you listen to what I said.
I think she should be leaving the table.
Josie Severson,
She should be
on
leaving the
11A,
table.
Hopkinton.
This is what I did.
As of today, a door-to-door outreach effort of Hopkinton residents has gathered over 190 signed postcards to the town board, expressing their support for the town board and Avangrid to thoroughly explore all options before making any decisions that could limit the town's and citizens' ability.
Can you speak up on
Ability to benefit from this project. They do not want you to pass this restrictive no project wind law. We request that the town board members recognize this growing voice of support. There's work to be done on the law and pilot negotiations. Please bring the parties to the table. If the town board proceeds with misinformation to pass this restrictive wind law, the project will not be built and the significant financial benefits will vanish. Thank you.
My name is Robert Bloom. I'm a resident and taxpayer in the town of Hopkinton. I live at 2666A State Highway 72. I would like to thank the town board, Sue Wood, Sue Lyon, Kelly Polano, for standing up for my safety and health, as well as for all the residents of the town of Hopkinton. Thank you for listening to the Wind Advisory Board's research and recommendations for a fair and safe wind law and a wind overlay that does not extend south of Route 72. Please do not be swayed from the decision you made 2 weeks ago by promises that are being circulated by, I don't know what they call themselves, Iberdrola, Avangrid, Atlantic Wind, one of those three, to pay people's electric bills. They are not signed legal documents and can be dismissed at any time. This is my personal feelings. If someone came knocking on my door offering me monetary gain to buy my vote in their favor, I would be highly insulted. And to the point that they, even under their own code of conduct, Iberdrola, Avangrid, Northridge Wind, whatever they are, went door to door with a town councilman to gain favor in the community. I would say they can't be trusted. Please protect our town and pass the wind law as it stands right now. Thank you.
Next. Oh, come on, Kenny.
May I say something, sir?
Person in the back has their hand up first, Joe.
Sure. Means I gotta get way up again, right?
Step forward.
Frank Bontazano, Hopkinton. This is a letter that I, as a participating landowner in the proposed Northridge Wind Farm, shared with the town board at the February 12th Hopkinton Town Board meeting. A CCRP representative publicly presented a document submitted titled Signed South 72 Petitions, as listing 151 names and addresses of people who signed a petition opposing turbines south of 72. We understand that the CCRP did not present the signed petitions to the town board, nor were they requested. Supervisor Seward publicly acknowledged at March 12th town board meeting she assumed that the document was accurate. In addition, apparently no inquiries were made specific to the narrative message people were told for this petition. Without identifying supporting documents, CCRP representative also claimed at February 12th that 353 residents and property owners were opposed to North Ridge. Total, we believe, represents double counting across various petitions or postcard submittals. Our review of 159 names on opposition postcards posted to the DPS found that nearly 50% were listed on the signed south of 72 petitions. We suspect this to be the case of documentation submitted to the town board as well. Unacceptable. CCRP also submitted a document to the town board titled Moratorium Pilot Petition, listing 819 names of people of Hopkinton and neighboring communities against the pilot, for a moratorium or both. Again, CCRP has not produced supporting narrative, nor was the narrative signatures requested by the board. Of interest, we found that only 166 on the list were registered Hopkinton voters. Of further significance, neither choice should reflect opposition to the project. In fact, it highlights the need for further discussion and negotiations between taxing jurisdictions and to address the final answer about pilot versus full evaluation. The town board has not been told by Sue Wood about her receipt of on 26th of February over 75 postcards from Hopkinton residents, now totaling over 190. Expressly supporting for the town and Avangrid thoroughly explore all options before making any decisions that can limit the town's ability to benefit from this project. Seward received these cards and has not informed council members, Lyon, Parker, and Solshay. She stated she needed time to verify the postcards as accurate before releasing them, but yet they were on Facebook an hour and 19 minutes before. Thank you.
Yes, Joe?
A little rough walking here, so that's all.
Okay, take your time.
My name is Joe Snell. I am a resident of neighboring town of Marysville. And I wasn't very fortunate in the past to represent the town of Marysville as a councilman and supervisor for 20 years. And I just wanted to say to the board that there's a reason why we call the board and the elected officials public servants. And they are, you guys are all there to represent the majority of the town of, in my case, the town of Marysville, but the town of Hopkinton. So just please remember that, you know. There were some cases that a couple of board members would have an opinion that was completely different than what the majority wanted. But you as a board, when the majority of the people in the town want something, you really have to listen. You know, I mean, that's your obligation, your job. That's why they call it a public servant. It may not be exactly what you want, but listen to the majority. Thank you.
In the back?
I would just like to say in regards to...
Name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Audrey Gilbert. I I live in Nazareth. My family are all residents here in Hopkinton. I don't currently live in Hopkinton, but this does still affect people who are in neighboring towns. It's always been my plan and hope to one day own a residence here in my hometown of Hopkinton. And this does definitely influence impacting surrounding communities, as we've seen out in Chattagay. Once they're into a place, they tend to want to expand. And I'm opposed to it, as well as my family that does live here. So I just wanted to state that point. All right. Thank you.
Just as another side note, there's 30 signatures to support the proposed wind law as written. Over.
I'm Olga Triller. I live at 2396 State Highway 11B in Hopkinton. And I'm not going to go into what I did the last time. But I do want to know, is the company an American company?
No.
No.
Wait, we can't. We're not answering.
Huh?
We're not answering any questions.
Okay, all I heard was that it was Spanish from Spain. Why are we having a Spanish company do this to us? We don't have enough Americans to build or whatever, but I still don't think that it is right for someone to come in to your backyard and say, this is what we're going to do. Whether you have 1 acre or whether you have 200 acres. That is not right. And if you have something to say about it, I think you should. And I've noticed that a lot of people have been suppressed about talking about it. Oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. But what happened to us was a few men came into our village and told us that this is what they were going to do, this is what they were going to do. And then hundreds of us from our village and our town in what is known now as Belarus were taken as slave labor. So there's people that are going to work here that are 20, 30, but at the end there's going to be 2. And even those are going to run when the Americans come. And I hope the Americans come soon. I don't want to live against another place where the lights are on all the time. And there's no food, because all of what they have done is given off to one group, and one group just gave you a loaf of bread and a stick of butter for a week for 5 people. Now what is going to happen here now? I don't want to have other people go through that. And half the things I know is because my mother told me. She was 27 years old with 3 children, myself, who I was only 1. And for 8 years I grew up in this kind of thing, that everything was done for people that just wanted something and not for the whole majority. Thank you.
Next. Janice?
Phoebe River Hopkinton. A community is, by definition, a group of people living in fellowship, sharing a space as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals.
Janice, a little louder.
Okay, sorry. I would say we have come together as a community and found a common interest to protect our environment, families, and quality of life. We owe it to our children to continue to be motivated by this goal of bettering our piece of this planet, ensuring that they too experience quiet nights under starry skies without noise and blinking lights of giant machinery. Turning Hopkinton into an industrial wind facility is not being good stewards, nor is it to be seen as our contribution to the greater good. Sacrificing our local environment to these industrial turbines will not lessen our impact, nor will it help us fight climate change. It will, however, take us one huge step further away from the nature we're trying to protect and the vision we all hold of a better, cleaner world. One must remember this corporation is not consuming space with acts of altruism and benevolence. Corporations are profit-driven, and as such, we are a means to that end. This corporation needs us, our tax dollars and our land. We do not need them or their project. We need our nature, health, happiness, and strong community. The residents of Hopkinton have spoken. If this foreign corporation is able to force this project on us, then at least we deserve to have proper setbacks and sound limits. According to scientific papers and testimonies from around the world, this wind law will not be protective enough for Hopkinton to escape having casualties. The setbacks are far too small and the sound limits not nearly protective enough, but it's better than the previous wind law. The Wind Advisory Board worked hard, and this law is the product of many hours of researching, listening, and deliberating. Some felt it was not restrictive enough, while one thought it was too strict. In the end, they compromised, realizing that the community is currently in need of protection from known effects of living among turbines. The right thing to do is pass this law, while continuing to make time and learn more about what other people are experiencing. It would be shameful to leave our town vulnerable to people who do not have our best interests in mind.
Back row? Yeah.
Being officer, 591 State Highway 11, kind of costly. A lot of money riding on this for a handful of people, right? Being officer. It's well known with Avangrid and Avangrid, there's phase 1, there will most likely be a phase 2 expansion. And that could be very well into the realm of my property. I'm opposed to the wind farm for many reasons. However, number one, as much as companies like Avangrid say wind turbines are sustainable, does not make it true, as they are in the business of making money, and their lies and underhanded ways prove this to be true. Recently, it has come to my attention Avangrid, whose parent company, an offshore corporation, has been busy bribing residents for their vote, utilizing a so-called electric bill offset program. Based on the fact that Avangrid, again, an offshore corporation, is utilizing our scarce tax dollars, federal, state, and local, via a pilot to bribe Hopkinton residents. If this offshore corporation was not receiving our scarce tax dollars, you can bet they would not even be here, causing havoc and hatred in their wake. Thank you.
Amber?
Zelensky, Hopkinton, New York? New York, of course New York. In regard to the upcoming vote for the wind law to protect the citizens of this community, I'm reflecting upon my visit to the Lowville area and their massive and ever-growing wind farm last fall. Upon being confronted by a board member recently who made disparaging remarks about my observations and opinion, I without question stand 100% behind those original observations. Do not let us be the next area to have curtains and drapes drawn by mid-morning due to shadow flicker. Do not let us live far too close to the massive 500-foot turbines and suffer the noise and ill health effects that so many others are genuinely experiencing. Please give the utmost of consideration to the wind law created by the Wind Advisory Board to spare the citizens of Hopkinton from the same fate and issues of other townships who did not protect themselves. Money can never buy the integrity to do the just and right thing for those you represent. Thank you.
Next. Luke? Oh, I didn't see his hand, sorry.
My name is Earl McBride. I live at 15 Barrett Road, Winthrop, here in the town of Hopkinton. First of all, I've been a contractor for 50 years, and I've been around a lot of big cities, airports, train units where there's a lot of noise, big highways, freeways in LA. And let me tell you, you can get used to any noise in 3 weeks. I live by LAX, 3 blocks away, and it didn't bother me after a month. Secondly, I don't believe in this detrimental sound wave that's everybody's coming up with, because if there was such a thing, the Eisenhower Dam and all the dams up here with getting everybody sick, and that's not happening. We have no reports over the huge turbines that they have. And I would like to say that I don't think an incentive is a bribe. An incentive, I've been around projects in several large cities out in California, and the large corporations would give incentives like building roads and everything for around their main projects as an incentive, not a bribe, and to let the town people vote on it. So I don't consider paying 75% of your electric bill a bribe. I think it's an incentive. That's all I'd like to say.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Kelvin Martin.
Dr. Morgan.
Yes.
I know who to address, thank you. I walk around and speak, the board can hear me, thank you.
Now, we need you to face us, please. Everyone else has to.
Every now and then I will turn around because that's just my habit. My wife is Dr. Nina Pierpont, who is the premier researcher on wind turbine syndrome.
Dr. Martin, please address us.
Okay. Sue, will you take notes on what I'm going to tell you right now?
I'm taking
I'm going
notes.
to ask you to contact Dr. Stephen Rauch, R-A-U-C-H. Got that?
I've got it.
Director of the Vestibular Disorders Clinic Division. Got that? Vestibular, inner ear.
Thank you.
Got that?
I do now. Yes, sir.
Harvard Medical School, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Dr. Rauch treats people with wind turbine syndrome from Cape Cod, and he pointed that out to ABC News some years ago. He treats them. The gentleman here who just disparaged that is wrong. In addition, I can send you tomorrow, if you like, the names and addresses and emails of doctors in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Iowa, Ontario, France, Scandinavia, Germany, England, and so on, who treat this disorder. Got it? Splendid. Thank you.
No gestures needed back there, thanks.
Luke? I'll get you next. Oh, no, Frank, you've already spoke. We'll have to wait till everyone else speaks.
Yeah.
Okay, there was recently a question about what is this company?
Name, address.
Oh, Luke Daly, Parish County, New York, 40 years, so I'm a newcomer. And so there was a question about what is this Iberdrola? Based in Spain, Iberdrola is the 4th largest energy company in the world and the largest wind company in the world. Ownership is mostly Spanish. However, the 2nd largest shareholder and a strategic partner is Qatar, an oil-producing Arab emirate on the Persian Gulf. Company value is $66 billion. Its annual revenues are $44 billion. Profits in 2011, which is quite a while ago, just under $3 billion. Its energy output mix includes gas, 34%, nuclear, 19%, coal, 12%, and renewables, 23%. In the U.S., Iberdrola is the 2nd largest wind company. It also owns utility companies such as Central Maine Power, Rochester Gas and Electric, and New York State Electric and Gas.
In Vermont, Iberdrola also seeks to develop the Deerfield Wind Project, which was tied up in courts until 2014, and the court ruled in favor of Iberdrola. In New York State, Iberdrola was sued by 60 residents living near its wind facility in Herkimer County because of health and noise concerns. So I think you see that this is not a neighborhood company we're dealing with. These are big, big boys. They have plenty of money. They can spread it around. They have. As to the complaint about the people south of 72 that did not want wind turbines in their yards and neighborhood, I was one of the people circulating the petition, and there are only 9 people who have signed and recorded leases in that area. Only 2 of those reside there at this point. So that is putting a problem in somebody else's yard. There may be more, but the company has chosen not to record them at our county. There's 2 more or 3 more, maybe 5 more cited, but only 1 more of those people live south of 72. So this is something where somebody else is trying to profit at someone else's expense. We've seen it, we've heard it, and we need to stand up for it. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for all the trouble that you guys have been through in the past year and a half, but remember, we didn't invite them here.
Yes.
My name's Forrest Gallion, Harrisville, Hopkinton town line. I want to say that I moved here about 7 years ago. I fell in love with the beauty of the Adirondacks. If I knew then the turbines planned, I would not have settled here. I foresee others not settling and moving away. The town failed to make laws that protect its residents. Businesses could leave too. It means the loss of tax dollars to the town. Land values will also drop. There's a very high chance that the town won't see the financial benefits that the wind company promises. Many of the residents won't live long enough to get the 30 years of so-said payments. Also, the wind company probably won't see it through, backing out when it's not profitable for them. Don't be blindsided by the Wind Turbine Corporation, an economic structure of the world such as the Industrial Wind Corporation compete with each other for more. Their only blind aim is profit. They pursue that aim with absolute ruthlessness. People, animals, nature, even their own employees are no more than digits on a balance sheet. Lifeless objects to be used and discarded. As long as you don't recognize and as long as you remain unconscious to the truth, you will believe in what the Wind Turbine Corporation says. Wake up, people. See the bribes, hear the truth, research, find out the facts before it's too late. It's our duty to protect our citizens, animals, nature from these ruthless corporations.
Next. Oh. That's Frank. Frank, you have to wait till everyone else speaks once. Please. Jeff.
Jeff Snell, resident of Hopkinton, on 72 inside the wind overlay zone. I just want to thank the Wind Advisory Board and our town board members that are supporting this law. There's been some reference that the company will pull out. That's not your responsibility if they pull out. They decided to pull out of Parrishville So that is all in their ballpark. If they don't have enough land to build these turbines, then so be it. You're respectfully protecting your citizens, which is what you've been voted in for. Thank you.
Kelly Charlson, on 72, here in Hopkinton. You appointed a wind advisory committee to do a job. Please allow them to do that job. They've spent hours and hours in meetings, research, and compromising. So what the law that you have before you, before the town, is already a compromise. The wind companies already have quite a bit of say in this. What some of you may not know, because not all of the board members went to the Parishville meetings, is as the Parishville Planning Board was done each draft, that was given to the wind company. Their input was then added to their changes. Parishville's Parishville Planning Board and the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Committee shared back and forth to make their laws look very similar in wording. When I asked the Wind Advisory Committee here, and when I asked the Parishville Planning Board, whose idea was it to change and put in how the sound is measured, the towers that were supposed to be up, no one could answer. That was only put in after one of the drafts from Parishville was sent to the wind company, and it was suggested, and then it was put in. So the wind company has already had input into the law before us. Do not allow them to bully you into making further changes that favor them and do not protect the citizens. The law is not a restrictive law. It is a start, and I emphasize start, at doing its intended job, which is the job that you all have, to protect the welfare, safety, and well-being of the residents. So the setbacks that are there are not necessarily the best setbacks to protect us, but it's certainly better than what we have. It is a start. So please pass the wind law as it is written from the Wind Advisory Board and pass the overlay they presented you. As you know, the wind company has also had quite a say in this. When our Wind Advisory Board was discussing and doing research on whether what parts should be included, the wind company had a say in taking part of that here around Fort Jackson area out. So they've already had a say. So again, do not let them bully you into making further changes. Please do the right thing, protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and majority that have spoken to you. Thank you. Yes.
My name is Morgan Newtown. I live on 49 in Hopkinton. First, I would like to thank the board for taking the advice of the Wind Advisory Board and coming to an agreement on the proposed wind law that is fair and protective. As a small town, we're not prepared to fight the big money-grabbing company that has invaded our town, but we will continue to try, and the law is the next step. First, there is no need for an overlay at this time. If they truly want to get south of 72, then they can build and prove to us that they're going to follow our wind laws and be respectful and do all of these things that they're promising, such as make promised payments, this electric bill offset program, radar-activated lighting, and create the promised amount of energy out of the project before even considering an expansion area. I also think we need to make it absolutely clear that we are not interested in a pilot. They pulled out of Parishville, so yes, it sounds good to our town that we will not have to split that payment 4 ways. Now it's just our town and school district, but again, that's not a guarantee. These guys are sneaky and can still try to force their way into Parishville via Article 10. A pilot is not a good deal for anybody but them. They can dress it up however they want, but they are the only ones getting a deal with the pilot. I understand that there is going to be an assessment and a comparison done, so when we see, again, that it's not going to be beneficial on our part, I ask you to make it absolutely clear to them one way or the other. I would also like to put out there that Maple Ridge is within 4 years of running out of their pilot time, and they are already negotiating another one. So once the pilot runs out, it's not like they're still going to pay their taxes. They're going to again try to get another rate. I would also like to point out the character and morals of the representatives. Representatives of this company that want to do business with our town can act the way that they have, again, that ethical thing that maybe there's an ethical thing there when our councilman is going around trying to gather up people to push their project in. It's not even a maybe at this point. At this point, I have no idea who all of these guys in the orange shirts are, but we know they're not residents, obviously, and yet we have residents standing in the hall that are having a hard time hearing. Another thing that maybe shouldn't be happening.
Hopkins. Since we're on to ethics, this is a letter that is from, let me just make sure, Bruce Russell. I believe you all had this email already. I'm going to read a letter from Bruce Russell that you have all received. Is we all clear that you have received this and this is authentic?
Yes.
Okay. Hey everyone, as you know, many of us, and I'm reading, this is Bruce Russell. As you know, many of us had an opportunity to meet in Belmont boardroom on Saturday morning, not too long ago. The conversations that morning with me and Wayne Rogers seemed quite open with both positive and negative comments. However, following lengthy phone call with Kelly, at her request on 2/5/18 seems to have grown a life of its own. I'm amazed that Kelly is able to analyze me personally in a short phone call. Note her report, and I quote, "He loves money. He is not happy with their choices." I'm just reading what he's wrote. Well, you might think I'm in treatment. However, I'm very comfortable knowing what I have been able to do in my 11 years as supervisor, and with very clear conscience living up to oath of office we have to take as the elected officials in our respective towns. When I attribute quotes to individuals, two things are required. First, make sure I have that person's permission for that quote. And second, I never put a spin on the quotes, as I've seen here. Our board works as a team to accomplish our goals. We may not always have unanimous decisions, but we always live with our decisions as a team should. The most important task you and I have is to listen to everyone in our town, making sure that we hear everyone and not making choices just because we individually prefer our solution. An example from our phone call regarding the money involved for the benefit to your town. When I mentioned that to Kelly, her answer was given to me was, "I don't care about their money, I have all the money I need." What happened to the oath of office that she repeated? The issue is not what any one individual has or does not have, but rather what does the town have. As a town independently wealthy, is there any source of revenue that you can provide for your taxpayers? I just want to say you need to sit down with Avangrid. You need to negotiate with them. Figure out what you're voting on first. That's all I ask you. Sit down and negotiate so you know what you're voting on. Sue yourself publicly have asked miles of questions. Get answers. Before you vote, I don't think anybody's ready to vote on this. I think you need to answer your own questions before you vote on this. And I think you need to go door to door with individuals like you do when you campaign and see what the individuals who are not at these meetings, what are the thank you.
Yes, that's why I ignored you before.
John Olney, Hopkinton. I've got something here my wife wrote. Here. The following words were written by a Hopkinton resident.
A little louder?
That might not be easy. The following words were written by a Hopkinton resident off in the chapel someplace making high-pitched noise, unable to attend this meeting. It is her belief that I am going to read this. Thank you to the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board and to the Hopkinton Town Board for supporting this proposed wind law. It is, I feel, quite a tenuous and compromised law. However, it is better than nothing. Years ago, as a young violinist, I was accepted into an orchestra and realized I did not have to practice in order to get by. So I did not try, not even at the concert performance. When the audience clapped vigorously for all of us, I was suddenly shamed. At that moment, I did not deserve applause. From that point in time, forevermore, I try my best, not at the laundry, not at cooking, but anything that involves duty to my fellow man. So I applaud you and thank you for doing your duty to protect the health, safety, and well-being of the citizens of Hopkinton. I applaud all of you. Sincerely, Kathy McDowell.
I think there was a question back there.
No, I was me, but
Oh.
Sam was up before me. I just wanted to finish up. I started, but before I went.
Who?
The gentleman, I was waiting for everyone else.
Frank.
Okay, but everyone else,
Everybody else not done.
is there more? Oh my goodness, all these. Lori. Oh, no, go ahead. Okay, there was. Yeah, I know it. Okay, Scott?
Scott McDonald, Avangrid Renewables. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. Appreciate this very much. The North Country communities host 7 projects representing over 550 turbines and 1,000 megawatts of installed capacity. They operate safely, enjoy widespread community support, and provide significant, sure, and certain long-term financial benefits in hundreds of millions of dollars to the local towns, counties, and schools, and through direct payments to landowners. This North Country experience has validated wind development in rural communities such as Hopkinton. Again, we have demonstrated before this board and maps in front of you that the project cannot meet the sound and setback limits proposed in the current law and the law that was passed in Perishville. They are unreasonable and provide no increase in public safety or any greater protection than the standards proposed by the company. When applying the sound and setback limits to these 7 projects, none would meet those proposed in the current law. There would be no Chateauguay, no Clinton, no Ellenberg, no Marble River, no Jericho Rock. Thank you very much. I always enjoy applause. No Maple Ridge project, the largest wind project east of the Mississippi. And that's the project that you visited, and it was a good visit. And that's a project that the opposition doesn't talk about much because there isn't anything to talk about. There would be no long-term surety of certain revenue streams and no jobs. Hundreds and hundreds of lost jobs. With that, I'd like to recognize members of the local laborers union here showing support for the project. Hardworking folks we support as well. This is their livelihood. They live in this region. They live here and depend on these jobs to support their families in retirement. Please do not discount the importance of these jobs. Avangrid is committed to, yes, paying revenue to this town, $750,000 in payment over 30 years. This is a commitment. Let's start that negotiation. We're offering to start $22.5 million. Direct payments to landowners will exceed $15 million over 30 years. Avangrid, yes, we have offered each town resident living within 3,000 feet of a turbine the ability to enter into a good neighbor agreement. This represents $67,000 over the 30-year period. The agreement does not include a confidentiality clause, therefore the residents are free to discuss the terms of the agreement. For town residents, that do not have an agreement with Avangrid, yes, we are offering an electric bill payment plan that would pay 75% of the annual residential bills for year-round permanent residents for 30 years after the commercial operation date, up to $1,200 a year. We are not aware of any wind project in New York offering these benefits to the residents of any town. We are committed to working with town residents. Avangrid is willing to make a significant investment in this town, and the voice of a few should not be the deciding voice. Thank you very much.
In our town, that's interesting. Mary Jane?
My name is Mary Jane Chuney. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a member of the Wind Advisory Board. I've been on the board since it started in 2011. I volunteered to come back when I was asked. I've lived in this town for over 30 years. Our logging business has employed your community members, we've delivered your wood, we've contributed to town events. Many assumptions have been made in regards to what my beliefs are based on gossip and misinformation. My family has been bullied and attacked personally as a result of this. For this reason, at one point, I contemplated resigning from my position. Those responsible for this know who you are, so please stop denying that the bullying occurred. And I'd like to state that, Mr. McDonald didn't heckle people when he was up here, when they were up here speaking. And I think if we were all in an area where something could be done, say like kids at school, people would be punished for the performance that just occurred. I would like to address the decision to arbitrarily split our town in two. Isn't it bad enough that this wind project has divided the town emotionally? There is no geological or physical difference between one side of 72 or the other. The board seemed to make a determination to exclude south of 72 based on a list of names that was provided at the beginning of the meeting. There was no verification of authenticity of signatures or how those signatures were obtained. Some of the information provided at these meetings and these hearings is inaccurate. In my opinion, the town board has a responsibility for assigning an unbiased board member to conduct a survey. They should contact the property owners in the area south of 72, those that are excluded from the wind overlay zone, and ask them if they want to be included or excluded. I'm not here to support or not support the project. I'm just here saying that as a bystander sitting in these meetings, I think what's right needs to be done. The decision to have the overlay zone be the full area should be based on the findings of what the board finds. You passed a solar energy law in 2017 that did not divide this town in half. As a member of the Wind Advisory Board and a town resident, I have made recommendations for changes to the wind law based on hours of research, concern for the well-being of this town, the town residents, and the future of the village. Thank you.
Lori, do you want to go now?
Lori Withrow, town of Carishville, barely a mile up over the town line of Hopkinton. Under the New York State Constitution, it is the duty of every elected official to protect the health, safety, and well-being of all residents. Regardless of your own personal beliefs or the opinions of your friends or relatives, you must look at the facts as they have been submitted over the past 20 months. During that time, you have been presented with a myriad of surveys, petitions, and by the way, all of the signatures are valid. Petitions, documents, articles, letters, emails, and public comments. In each case, a majority of the evidence presented has been in favor of a law that would protect the health, safety, and well-being of all residents, and a wind overlay zone map that would limit the area where industrial turbines could be constructed. Town council members need to focus your attention on your responsibility to all town residents and landowners, not just a select few. Adopt the proposed wind energy facility local law and wind overlay zone map as presented and recommended by the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board in May of 2017. You appointed and entrusted the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board to draft the new local law and to delineate the wind overlay zone map. They accepted the serious nature of their appointment, and they accomplished the daunting task that you assigned them, spending months in meetings and thousands of hours researching industrial wind turbines. The resulting draft law they presented is an outstanding example of compromise and respect for the concerns of all residents on both sides of this issue. Now it is time for the Hopkinton Town Board to do the right thing. Please do not continue to delay this process. The residents of Hopkinton deserve better. They deserve to have the protections afforded by the proposed wind law and wind overlay zone map as recommended by the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board, and they deserve these things now. They have waited long enough. Thank you.
I'm Richard Akins. I'm a Hopkinton resident, landowner, taxpayer. This wind law is a roadmap for a wind farm opposition. It is disheartening to that it assumes that all residents and taxpayers want to oppose this wind project. I think you need to look at the towns of Franklin, the towns in Franklin and Lewis County where residents and taxes have stayed stable or gone down because wind revenue funded their budgets. One of those towns this board met with in the Lewis County built a new town office, garage, paved all the roads in the town, and also put $1 million in the bank in 12 years. The town board should look at the data that was done by Jefferson County Community College about people living in wind zones. It showed that the majority of the people who live in the wind turbines have positive views of the windmill farms. This is about as unbiased of a poll as I think you can get. The town board needs to understand that the environmental impact of wind turbines compared to alternatives, there is no fuel cost for the wind. Once the turbine is erected and the fuel is needed, it's free. This wind law as presented is bad wind law and does not treat people or businesses fair, or maybe this town board does not want to treat everybody fair. The reasons for this follow. There is no buildings that in this town of Hopkinton that has to have a 5 times its height from a property boundary line, or 5 times its height from a road. Should every house should be built that way? Why do you put this restrictions on one project? You didn't put that on a solar farm. Or bodies of water. The mills have to follow it. It should make everybody follow the same law. Also, let's not forget that the St. Lawrence County Planning Board recommendation was that this law was way too restrictive on the setbacks. And they more agreed with the setbacks Avangrid had planned. As far as a real protected value for agreement, it should be tied to their assessment. I don't think people should want more for the property than they're assessed. So these people that have built houses and live in buildings and never bought a building permit and never been assessed, I don't think they ought to be rewarded for something they never had to pay taxes on. If there are safety and healthy issues with the windmills farm, then there are communities that have windmills letting more windmills come in. I mean, you've got counties in Franklin County, West Windmill Park, they invite the next one in because they want them. They enjoy it. They enjoy the revenue, and it hasn't bothered the town.
No choice.
Please. No, I'm just telling them to behave.
Sorry,
that's your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
I'd like to, okay.
Name
I'll
and
abide. Ernie Wood, Route 72, Potsdam, in the town of Hopkinton. I would like to congratulate Avangrid on coming to Hopkinton in the Parishville area and breaking up families, friends, and into enemies, making promises they won't keep, and making bribes that we won't take. Hopkinton is beautiful the way it is. We don't need outsiders telling us what we need. Avangrid has no good intentions except to take and run. Take your towers and go where they're needed, wanted, and we'll take bribes. As far as pilot programs, we all have to pay our taxes, our fair share, for what our property is worth. Why would our town board authorize a corporation from Spain to move in and give them a break rather than paying their fair share? We can, and we will remember.
My name is Laura Murphy. I live in Fort Jackson, about an eighth of a mile from the Hopkinton border. And I don't have a speech prepared like many people here tonight. I can only speak from the heart, which I have done before and I have put in words many, many times. I support and I thank you, the folks up here who have worked very hard to try to be fair, to try to be reasonable, to try to look for the health and well-being of the folks in the community. This has been a hard task for all of you. It's been a hard task for all of us. I am proud to be affiliated with the CCRP group. We have done nothing but try to bring forth education, understanding, anything that could try to help you to understand the impact that turbines would have on this community and the people who live here. I am tired of hearing about bullying. I am not a bully. You can look at me and you will know that I am not a bully. And I have been door to door, and I have met with many people, and I have never once bullied an individual. Never once. And I resent that. And I also want to say that from my front porch, I will probably see every single turbine that is built. I live in the Adirondacks because I love it. You can put a turbine in front of me and offer me $20,000 and I will say no. I will say no because some of us value the land, the environment, our neighbors, our friends, the sky, the earth, and the wind that we just like to listen to.
Yes.
That's what we value. Money is not the object. For most of us who are dedicated to this, we love the land. So you can say whatever you want about us. This is why we're here. This is why we fight this over and over and over again. I personally do not want to sit on my front porch and see 35 turbines spinning in the air, killing the creatures that I look forward to every fall. I want this wind law to be, I support what you're trying to do. I think you've made compromises with it. It might not be perfect, but at least it's some protection. And that's what you're here for. And if there's anybody on the board that is not here for that reason, then you should not be representing your people. And I appreciate those of you who are. Thank you.
Charlie Burdo. I live in Stockholm, and I have worked on the windmills. I've been where some of the people were against them when we got there and everything. Some are still against them, don't get me wrong. But while we were there, they were very satisfied. They kept complimenting us on things that were going on and how smoothly everything was going, and how anything that was being disturbed was also being fixed in a way that was comparable to what it was. The thing about the money and everything, well, look at Messina up this way. There is no money, and yes, this is beautiful land out here. The people out here are fantastic. The people out here are fantastic. But the whole thing is, there's gotta be money. All of the kids here are leaving. It's really nice, you know, I love the country. But when it comes down to it, help with paying light bills, that being paid off and everything, that is not just an incentive, that is something that is very helpful to everyone. The money is needed up here, the work is needed up here. As far as the environmental impact, I have seen and talked to the people up around Chattagay and everything. I go up there every summer. When I go through there, windmills are not ugly. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I would want 100 of them around me, but at the same time, people up there are saying that they do not do that much destruction or anything. They do not hurt the environment like they keep coming up with. As far as doctors saying that, you know, they are doing special studies on what it's doing to hearing and everything. I know people that live up there and other places where we've built the windmills and there has been nothing to it. And I can't think that there's a person in this room that can't tell you that they know some doctor that is not saying that he will investigate this or this as long as he's making a dollar. Now, he may be saying that this is all about money, well, so are doctors. So, I mean, you can play it any way you want. The whole thing is, I do not believe that we should pass up on something that will definitely, and you know, as far as money and everything, will help out the area. The area needs help. We need to be able to keep our young people here working. We need to have businesses want to come here because of the electric that comes from the windmills and everything. The more that happens, the more we get other businesses up there. You look at Messina now, Messina is desolate, nothing going on there much other than heroin. It's really...
Hi, Amy Mitchell. I live on Bonner Road in Carrollville, just about a mile from the border of Hopkinton. I grew up in Malone. My husband grew up in Potsdam. We picked here. Then we moved. We thought, well, maybe we could better take care of use our education, go away. We went to the Dallas, Texas area. Then we said, nah, that's a little too much. We went to New Hampshire. We liked it there, but we chose to come back here. My husband took a pay cut. We took a big risk. We bought land here. The reasons are echoing your reasons, your reasons, your reasons. Sorry. The reasons that are the nature, the stillness, the quietness. So I was a kid, so to speak, when we picked the land here. Then we moved away from the land. And I was still, compared to now, a kid when I chose to come back. I will most likely choose to leave. And that doesn't matter to anyone in this room. I'm not saying that because that makes a difference. But I will most likely choose to leave if the project goes through.
Multi-builder.
Perryfield, less than a mile away from the line, city town line. I was born in St. Lawrence County. My parents moved away, and after we got married, I moved back in 2004. What I want to say, I don't have to prepare a statement because I wasn't planning to talk, but we spent a lot of time in the USDA office looking at the different soils before we moved here. And we found that the USDA rates their soil from 1 to 8, 1 being the very best, 8 being the very poor. And they told us, and we found information on that there's only so many million acres in the U.S. that's number 1 soil. Next is number 2. And there's a lot of number 2 soil. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a good bit. I have some on my farm. There's throughout Hopkinton, Stockholm has some. Hopkinton and Canton have some too. But there's a good amount right in this area that's rated as number 2 soils. Some of the very best in the USDA. Please help us protect our land and our soils. Thank you.
Which overlooks the town of Hopkinton. And I know that, I've seen it, I've talked to pilots and other people that are experts, and I would be looking at turbines if they were erected as planned according to that map. I would not be able to stay in my home. I know I would leave. Because I have been to the Maple Ridge Wind Farm. I have spent 10 years back and forth to Maple Ridge Wind Farm. And I know what it's like to try to sleep next to them. And those are little small ones. And there's hardly any compared to what has happened east of us. So, I mean, I woke up and felt horrible things. Another thing is, the doctors that have studied this are not getting paid. I just want that to be clear to everybody. They are all volunteers. They have not been paid for any of their research or any of the treating their patients. And Dr. Nina Pierpont treats patients from Chateaugay, Belmont, including Lorraine Rogers' kids. And they, she's not looking for money. They don't need money. They care about the people. They moved here for the same reasons we did, for the Adirondacks, for the quiet. I grew up in a big, big city. And I'm in support of the wind law the way it's written. And I really urge board members to pass it the way it is, get it through, protect all of us. Because I don't want to look at flashing lights out my window. I don't want to look at spinning blades out my window, and I would, because I live up high, and I'm in direct view of it. So, I'm thankful that town board members that have done the research, and go on places, find out things about everything, talk to people. I can give everybody names, phone numbers, addresses. If they want to talk to other people experiencing things. But the wind law has to be protected. You have the one that from Altona that burned up the other day, and people are telling me that still they go by and smell the hydraulic fuel that was burning from the turbine. I got that report last night. They're still smelling that just driving by it. It's hazardous. There's a lot of poison in there. I've seen the transformer in Lowville blow up and contaminate 4 wells. Only one came forward. It was publicized, but we talked to the other 3 landowners. It happened. The guy that went to work on it was actually staying at my house working in Clinton County at the time, was called to go down there to try to fix it. So, I do know these people, I've experienced it firsthand, and I applaud you for putting this wind law to public hearing, and hopefully you'll vote for it. Thanks. Any new?
Dwayne French, 564 County Route 49, Fort Jackson, Washington. I'm kind of in agreement with Mary Jane on the overlay zone. I read articles about how communities been split. This line in the sand you call 72 is splitting the town. Let's not do it, okay? Also, I want to apologize to Avangrid for what just happened back here That is not Hopkinton. I've been here over 40 years. Hopkinton is the people that were at the Summerfest. These people were not. Okay, these people do not come to dinners here. They do not come to chicken barbecue at the fire station.
I do.
I've never seen, well, I can't turn around and look at you. So,
I know.
the majority. Okay, I was at every Summerfest. All right. As far as the setbacks, I don't understand 2,500 feet. If you're talking ice throws, I saw the graph, I saw the figures that were presented from the advisory board. They're not even close, people. I've got them right here. Can I hand out copies to, I'll hand them to you soon, you can do it. If I give you mine. Number one, the first mistake with this drawing, if you look at it, YO is the tower, or height of the tower. They've got ice coming off the top of that tower at 40-degree angle, physically impossible. We all know it's going to come off at a tangent of the rotation of those blades of the circumference. Okay? They also have a disclaimer here. Atmospheric drag is neglected. Why? You see it? Sue?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you look puzzled, that's all. So anyways, if you go to Google and you see projectile trajectory with and without drag, Google that. There will be the second one down, only because it's an interactive graph, is this website below that. Just play with it. You'll see for yourself what the ice throws really are. Okay, it's there. Just make sure, and if you use another one, make sure, and I found trouble with a lot of them because they didn't go up to 180 miles an hour. Find one that goes 180 miles an hour. Thank
you. Any other new comments? Oh, sorry.
I am Sherry Whitten. I live about a mile outside of Hopkinton in Stockholm, and I am a property owner in the south of 72 zone in Hopkinton. A couple of the points that I want to make it first is that I would like you to vote this one in. I don't feel that it's perfect. I do feel that there are further restrictions and definitions in certain areas that need work, but considering where we are in our timeline, I believe this needs to be voted in. Early on, I did some research on property values and started to do an analysis myself based upon some studies that were done, some formulas that Clarkson had shown, and I was extremely concerned, and still am extremely concerned about what will happen to property values. The main aspect of that is aesthetics and the health issues and uncomfortableness of living around the windmills. That's why people don't live in those areas, or they're the less desirable properties. It's my belief that Hopkinton will, in a short period of time, even if they're paying full tax on the value of the towers, end up in a deficit, money-wise, from the towers coming in. It is also my belief that we do have value in our wind rights, that wind power has potential and solar power and many types of alternative energies, and that financially, if we wanted to grow our ability to have some kind of industrial revenue in this area, which is really what we're talking about here, then we have many, many, many options open to us. We can create community power centers. We have so many things that we can do with this option. We don't need to ship this power. We don't need somebody to come in here and tell us how we're going to use our resources. We can pull together as a community, and we can develop a resource that's very valuable and that will offer low electricity for large numbers of people and can create some kind of a small industrial center in a certain area. And the south of 72 zone, in my opinion, as far as what many people have spoken to, the reason that we are a very appealing area is that we are not near a city, we're not near large industry, we are near the Adirondacks. It is the nature, it is the quietness of the area. What drew me here was a combination of that, and like Moses spoke to, the agricultural aspect of it. We do have excellent soils here. The turbines are a serious deficit to what many people have addressed as being the main asset of this area to them. South of 72 being up against the Adirondack Park is one area that I suggest is a corridor that needs to be preserved, and there's already been some studies and reports issued on that, and I suggest.
Any other new comments? Oh, sure.
I'd just like to thank the board for doing that.
Your name, sir?
Guy Rosenbarger. I live in, have property in Burrisville and in Hopkinton. I just want to reply to that one fellow that said 72 is splitting Hopkinton in two. It's not 72 splitting Hopkinton, it's Avangrid.
Yes.
And the land and the beauty in Burrisville and in Hopkinton should be not taken lightly, being thrown away. And if they come in with these things, and it's just going to, you think it's bad now, wait till they come in. I don't have no use for the wind towers at all. So, thank you. And do the right
thing. Any other new comments? Oh.
Okay. Matt Walser, Parishville, Hopkinton Town Line. We spoke to a resident of Hopkinton the other day, very intelligent person. He had no clue how the turbines will be impacting the community. We firmly believe that they won't be seen or heard just a half mile away where I live. Folks, believe me when I tell you, we will hear them. And these skyscrapers will be seen for many miles in neighboring communities like Messina, the reservation, the northern Adirondacks, and much more. Most people don't even realize it. We would also feel them because we live on a huge ridge of bedrock. The vibration will be felt for miles around. Noise and vibration have a lot to do with the inner ear disturbances referred to earlier and many of the symptoms of wind turbine syndrome, which are medically proven. A panoply of illnesses. Why do you think the wind company is bribing residents with agreements whereby some residents sign away their legal rights to sue or even to speak out with complaints? Many won't live long enough to realize the benefits that they're offering with their electric bills. And who knows if they'll follow through anyway. There are many other problems due to the giant turbines. I know Mose has told me the Amish community are all against it. One big problem is property value declines, and I'll give you a brief example. The gentleman who visited from the Massachusetts wind farm told me that his neighbor's property was worth nearly $200,000 before the wind farm came in. He can't sell it now for $29,000. There's disturbance of our roads, our trees, and topography. There'll be blasting of bedrock. There'll be destruction of forest lands, especially in the sensitive, very pristine area south of 72. There'll be disturbance of the state forest lands there in the Adirondack foothills. Loss of the many endangered bird and bat species that I've witnessed there, especially during migration. And did you know there would be extended traffic stops throughout the day during construction? I personally have had to wait 20 minutes and more for turbine parts to pass through many times. It can take even longer for you to leave your home, go to the store, or return home or get to work for many months.
I'm going to ask one more time if there's any new comments.
I don't know, some gentleman.
Cheryl, did you want to speak?
I'm assuming they were pointing at you.
She wasn't sure.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for everything you are doing. And I'd really, really like to thank you who agree with that. And I'm sorry, the board's, I'm sorry. I'd really like to thank those
I've been
who
waiting
agree.
forever to recommend you.
Hey, that's not part of my 10-minute I'd really like to thank those who agree with it, because they have the right to. What I am concerned about is, they mentioned vibrations, and an earthquake that is felt in our area just like a week ago caused vibrations to the houses. And people have told me, this is secondhand information because I don't live in the houses down Chattagay area, but some of the foundations have cracked and crumbled.
Yes.
Now, this is a concern of everyone's, just like the earthquake, and I think we should take that into consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Any new comments? Sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay, gentleman in the very back that spoke first.
Actually, the gentleman right here who's been waiting a little before me, so I'm in fairness, he's before me.
Okay, have the mic. Go ahead, Frank.
Frank Hopkinton, Hopkinton. You all went down Maple Ridge. Let's compare apples to apples. That's an Avangrid project. We haven't heard anything negative coming back from you about Maple Ridge. The only thing we heard was that when you went to a restaurant that was owned by the Yancey brothers, there was pollution in the pond. They raced snowmobiles on that pond. There's your pollution. What we've been witnessing these past 2 months with what's going on in the board as far as trying to manipulate information is sophomoric. We got over this in high school. You people should be sharing all your information. You should be trying to figure out the best for the town. Not trying to keep him marginalized, or you can have all the money you want. There are people here that will buy and sell people. You need to work as a cohesive unit. There's $50 million at stake. You wanted, everybody here wanted to have people benefit from all this electricity. This electricity is going downstate. It's going into the grid. Now you have a program in front of you that where Avangrid, which is an easy name to remember because my 12-year-old granddaughter can remember it. Avangrid has a program to pay 75% of everybody's power. Every resident. Everybody gets a benefit.
Not mine.
Nobody's left out. It's not a bribe. If it's a bribe, then you, when you're working for a company and you get benefits, are they bribing you?
Yep.
You consider that a bribe?
Yep.
You do? Oh, good. Good for you. Also, it's a Spanish company. If you think you're driving an American vehicle, think again. People out there with Lexus and Toyotas, you're driving Japanese, you're driving Ford, Chevy, and Chrysler. It's a conglomeration. You talk about money?
Right?
That's it?
No.
Oh, to the
Address
board,
the
I'm
board.
sorry. Here we go. When you're talking about revenue, it's money. It's always money. This town is a big family. It's a family of over 1,000 members. It needs money. It needs money to run a budget just like you need money to run your household. This is what this project is going to help. Thank you, Steve.
I got a lot of talking points, so I'm gonna do about 12 seconds on each one. Belmont, I live 15 miles from Belmont. I know, I just made a mistake. You don't hear me now. 15 miles from Belmont, I built my own house with my own hands and my own logs, one log at a time. Every morning, for 25 years, I look east, sun comes up every freaking morning. Now, I got windmills 15 miles away and I see them over the ridge line in the middle of my sun. At night, I watch lights, bang, 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 bang. So when I sit in my front porch now, I don't see the ridge line, I see lights.
Please look it up.
Chateauguay, Belmont, whoever said it, they'd be nothing without you. When I go to Plattsburgh now, I live south of Bull Mountain Lone, Route 30. I go to Paul Smith's, turn left, and I go up through Oneonta, because it's such a wasteland going through the other thing, I hold back tears. They destroyed those areas.
Good way to go.
Contract holders will never complain about these things because they have non-disclosure clauses. They can't complain. So when they come and tell you no one's complaining, it's because they're following the contract. A solar company just came to Malone. They want to take 1,000 acres. Ironically, the biggest guy you have here with the land who wants windmills, they're taking 1,000 acres of land he farms in my backyard, touching my backyard. They offered $300,000 in baseball uniforms and parks. My family's paid taxes for 200 freaking years in this country. Guess what? They offered $300,000, lots of money. An effective tax rate of 0.02%. Watch your pilot payments, they're going to get you. Light bills, that's just ballparks and uniforms. That's pocket change to them guys, it means nothing. You know what? I don't, just drive through Chateauguay, drive through Belmont, drive through that. It's a wasteland. I'm speaking for myself, not for my group. Belmont right now has a moratorium because they let the town set, or the company set the rules for noise.
Look at me.
They set the rules for the noise, and now it's too loud. They got a moratorium, so they're going to revisit the noise. What a coincidence. The fox was watching a hen house, now it's out of hand. I don't know. There's nothing else I can say because towns are destroyed, families have been destroyed. I live next to it. When you get to the Bangor Hill in Malone, if you look east, you can see those towers from 20-some miles away. Turn off Route 37 at the casino, start going down the road right there to Bombay. From Bombay, you can count 50 or 60 wind turbines. So you guys are not really having to worry about a 2,500 foot setback or a 500. You turn off of Route 37, and you look southeast, and you can see them at 30 miles away. From my house, they're 15 miles away. I see them every damn night. And when I come out of the woods, I look at them now. I live south of Malone. I'm nowhere near these things when I look at them. So your setbacks are irrelevant. Good luck, man. God bless you guys. Stick in tune.
Amber and Brandon again, and I wasn't planning on saying anything else, but when they bring in other people's names and stuff like that, I guess I need to say something. Okay, I dated a Yankee boy for 10 years. I know what to do at Flat Rock. And I've been there every summer for the last 10 years. I've been there half the winters. I've slept there. I've camped there. I've watched the snowmobile races. Complain about the pond being polluted from the construction of the towers. It was not Gordon's pond. That was his cousin Jeff Byers' pond. He had a trout pond, which was making money. It was polluted and killed all his trout during construction from the runoff. Even though they put up all these little plastic bags or whatever they got all around trying to protect it. It killed all his trout, which was his money maker. So, if you're not going to say facts right, please don't say them. And I can provide you guys with all the information from Flat Rock because I've been there, I've done that. I fought another project that was killed down there. And, you know, John Yancey works on the windmills. He hates them. He's a licensed electrician. He needs the money. He's got 10 kids he's got to feed. And that's not a lie. So, when you use somebody else's name, or you hear somebody else's name, please make sure the facts are straight before you take that. Thank you.
Oh, we have a new one. Step forward.
I am brand new and I will look just great. My name's John Cordy, I'm from Parrishville.
Speak louder.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Last year there was an Amish gal over here that was sick, so I ran her over to the hospital over in Malone. Well, her husband had never seen those things, so we went over onto the Brainersville Road, got under one, and we listened to like 4 different noises coming off those, and it was a 500-footers. So anyways, everything was fine. So we went up to another place, and there was, we were basically surrounded by them, probably by about 3/8 of a mile. And we're standing there, and he says, I just want to feel them. I says, okay, let's just stand here. About a minute later, it felt absolutely, just like somebody shoved a knife in my eye, my right eye. And I went, ouch, and put my head down like that. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, felt like somebody just shoved a knife in my eye. And about 30 seconds later, the same exact feeling in the left eye. Now, I'm 57 years old, and I'm not going to stand in front of 100 people and lie about something like that. And that was about 3/8 of a mile away. So these people that say there's nothing with infrasound, they're totally full of crap. There's certain people that are sensitive to energy, and I am one of them. There was another guy, Mr. Converse, that lives down here. He went to Chateaugay and he'd get sick over the hospital or over to the soccer field just being around them. There's certain people that cannot be around them. Thank you.
My name's Luke Martin. I'm from the town of Parrishville, and maybe you might think I don't have a dog in the fight because of that. But I've been involved in this CCRP from the beginning, and I believe I've been at almost all of the wind advisory meetings here, and town board meetings, everything to do with this wind project. And I would just like to compliment the Wind Advisory Board's work. They listened to both sides of the argument, and they did their homework. Anybody that's been at those meetings, I believe, would say that is the way it was. Now, I know that there's a number of people, a lot of people, that have a lot of strong opinions, and they weren't at any of those meetings, or I didn't see them anyhow. So I would just like to say give a strong compliment to their work, and I would hope that you would consider taking their advice and passing the law. I don't believe the law would stop the wind farm from being in the town of Hopkinton. If it's sized properly, the windmills is the right size, I think they would fit. But if they keep getting bigger and bigger, I guess the setbacks get bigger and bigger then too. And then after a while, the houses will be close together. You got to find a more wide open space for them. But I just want to compliment the Wind Advisory Board's work. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Eric Scoble, County Route 56, Hopkinton, just moved. Don't care if they come, don't care if they don't. But this group over here, one of their people came to my house on Sunday. I have an elderly man that lives with my father-in-law. He is in Syracuse Hospital now going under surgery because a lady that pushed herself in the door knocked him over and ruptured his rectum. I find who it is, I will be suing. I didn't care what the wind turbines did. Now, bring the damn wind and let's go.
Okay, okay. All right.
Guess you didn't serve in the army, did you?
No.
More rebels.
I'm the person that went to his house on Sunday. I offered some information. There was some woman behind him hollering, and all I did was hand some things in the door. I did not knock a man in a wheelchair out. He opened the door. He opened the door, and I handed some papers in. That is all that happened. I swear to God.
Ollie. Fake news.
Yeah. That big level. Oh, you'll be next.
Kelly Johnson, Alola, Hopkinton. I just want to share with you briefly some personal experience that I've had driving through the area with wind skyscrapers. 2011, I was on a business trip. I was on my way home, driving through the Braymersville Road. It was very foggy. It was a terrible night. I was driving very slow because of the terrible weather and the fog. And then there was something in the road. And then there was something else in the road. And then there was something else in the road. I stopped my vehicle. I tried to find a place to get off the road because of the heavy fog. I didn't want my vehicle to get hit. I stopped my vehicle. I counted 30 white snow geese, battered, bloody, broken, that had been clearly injured in some kind of way while on their migration. I don't have a perfect explanation for what happened. I didn't find any shot. I didn't find any other evidence except the windmills. That is the only explanation that I can give you. I was standing next to about 10 windmills. There are 30 geese that I can see within the light pattern of my vehicle. I didn't go searching through people's yards. Now I have to tell you that I've been a crisis counselor for over 20 years. I've worked as a surgical tech. I am not a wimpy person, right? But I'm telling you that seeing those dead birds, doing what they're supposed to do, what nature intended them to do, which is to follow their migratory path home again. Knocked out of the sky by windmills. Laying on the road. I don't know how many more there were. I don't know what children saw the next day. I keep hearing that we're supposed to put people and money over birds and animals. What about the children that woke up the next morning? I didn't pick up those birds. They were still there when I left. People ask me, well, if this really happens all the time, if birds really get chewed up and spit out by windmills, why don't we hear about this more often? Why don't we hear about this more often? I have 2 words for you: non-disclosure agreements. It is the only reason that we don't hear about it more often. Because the people whose yards those birds fall in, part of their job as a money recipient is to go out there and clean up those birds. That's why we don't see it more often. That's why we don't hear about it more often. Non-disclosure agreements. Thank you. Oh, you.
I'm sorry, yes.
My name is Robin Wolfen. I live in Messina, but like Ms. Gilbert in the back, I feel like my home, I think that was Ms. Gilbert, but I felt like my home is Hopkinton area. My father relocated here in the early 70s. He was a professor at Potsdam State, and he could have settled anywhere. He could have settled in Canton, he could have settled in Potsdam. Those were probably more affluent communities. But he chose Hopkinton because of the serenity. He wanted to have organic farm. He wanted to be able to play in his land. He had a sugar bush. And I grew up in 100 acres of just peaceful serenity. And the last couple of years, my dad was ill, and I took a lot of drives from Messina to Parishville, to Hopkinton. He lived on the Cappinsville Road. And his wife is here with me. And she still lives in the house with 100 acres. It was a beautiful drive. For a year and a half, I drove at least once a week to Hopkinton, and I call Parishville, but it's Hopkinton technically. And it was just, it's peaceful. I drove either through Potsdam down Route 72, or I drove through Stockholm, and never did I feel uptight. If anything, I just felt like a sense of relief. It was calming. It was calming to get to his house. Like I said, his land is beautiful, and I cannot imagine that drive with turbines going around and around. Like, I would not want to make that drive if that's what the future will hold. And I have a daughter in medical school. She plans to move up here and practice medicine and do rural medicine up here. She's in a rural medicine program. But I can guarantee with turbines going around and around, she won't settle in the Hopkinton area at all. I couldn't speak to decibels and noise and whether it really has an impact. I truly don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know, or I read literature about it. I just know how I feel about the landscape and about living near the Adirondacks and what I think our area has to offer. And I think it would be severely compromised with the turbines. I think that the advisory board has done its due diligence, and I think that you can tell by the population of people that are here and that are strongly against the wind turbines. It seems to me it's about 75% of the people here are against them, and only about a quarter that are, and we all had equal opportunity to come here. Like, this is a great land in a democracy that we can all come to a public meeting. It was advertised, and in fact, it had to be advertised properly. So nobody bullied me. In fact, nobody even reached out to me in the last few weeks to ensure I'd be here. People from either side could have come here to speak, and you notice most people speaking are against the turbine. Thank you.
Remind you that Avangrid is not a person. We don't owe anything to Avangrid. Or, I mean, when it comes right down to it, we don't owe anybody that has a lease anything except for equal protection and fair representation. Equal and fair representation. The people on this side and that side that are opposing the wind farm are good people. We have spent years of our lives now trying to educate others on what we know to be true, that these things do harm the environment and people. I have spoken with people who've abandoned their homes. Kevin Sigourney, the Therons, who are from Vermont, and they had children, and they left their homes. They left their home of, I believe, 75 years it was in their family, and they cannot live there. So everything they built as a family was gone, and they had to rebuild. And they had to rebuild, I believe, in poverty, which is what a lot of these folks will have to do, including myself, because after doing all this research for 2 years, and I'm talking 8 to 15 hours a day, almost every day, I can tell you there's enough information to make me leave, and I don't want to leave. I want to stay in the home my husband built with a very low income. And it's beautiful for us. And it would be hard for us to start over at this Please don't make us. Please do not let us be another experiment, because that's what these industrial factories are. They are residential, industrial experiments, and there are children living in these experiments, and mine will not. I'm smart enough to leave when I see danger coming. I'm not that person in the scary movie that gets killed. I'm not. I will run if I see it coming, and I see it coming because I've been researching, listening. I'm friends with people all over the world on Facebook. I'm friends with a man who has a farm, and he's lost, I think, 50 animals now. 50 animals. And he can't leave. His place is worth, I don't know, a few $100,000. So he doesn't know what to do with himself. And a lot of these people won't know what to do with themselves. This is very difficult. And it's very difficult for these people you're calling bullies. This is our lives. We've been bullied for the last 2 years because of money. I am sick of it. I want to go back to my life. I want to go back to story time at a reasonable hour. I want dinner with my family. I don't want to do 3 meetings a week over and over and over again until you decide to do the right thing. Until you decide to do the right thing. And that is to protect the people, to represent the majority. It's demonstrated. We don't need to keep doing this. It's over. Please, just pass the wind law. I'm asking you. I want to be home with my children in the evenings. Do the right thing. Money's not enough. It never is.
Okay, just wanted to finish up. Our quality of life and quiet enjoyment of nature will be gone. Bright lights from the substation will forever ruin the night sky. Flicker will reflect the sun's rays and blink red lights with strobe off of the giant blades. At night, noise will be incessant. Some of you will not be able to tolerate it, and we won't be able to buy back what we've lost forever. I want to remind the board members and the leaseholders that you can be sued and will be held personally responsible and legally liable when other residents are harmed by the turbines that you've approved or have on your land. For these and many other reasons, we need to protect the people, the community, and our beautiful, sensitive forest lands south of 72 by creating safer setbacks, safer noise laws, and a common sense wind overlay zone, as the Wind Advisory Board recommended. And the town board has conducted a survey, and the majority of the residents were opposed to the project. A local wind turbine installer clearly stated to me that he does not want to see the wind turbines come here. And as far as bullying is concerned, I know a lot of people who don't even come to speak out because they're afraid or they can't handle this stress that most of us have been under for almost 2 years now. But a leaseholder's very first generation relative did in fact threaten my life, as many of you know. I was told by someone who used to respect me that I am going to be lynched, and they were absolutely sure of it. So I just wanted to clear that up because some people thought that what I said about my life being threatened was not believable, but it's true. I wouldn't lie. Thank you.
Just take 2 minutes. I just want to know how many on the board and how many all around here have ever been in the service, or their grandparents, or their parent, father. But I know I'm talking to you.
I know, but we can't ask those questions. We can't ask those questions.
No, I know, but if our relatives who lived here and who moved away, if they fought in the Second World War to keep the country, this country free, why are we allowing another country to come and ruin us? Thank you.
He left? Okay, we do have a letter from Rodney Gosha, that he sent and asked to be read.
Okay, again, this is from Rodney Gosha. He's the supervisor for town of Harrisville. When considering your local wind law.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Thank you.
Stand up, stand up, stand up. So that
Okay, I'll try really hard.
We all did it.
Okay, when considering your local wind law and the impact this project may or may not have on your community, take into consideration who is pushing this agenda and what benefits there are to them. Are they genuinely interested in what's best for the town they wish to build their project in? Or are they driven by big foreign business interests that could care less about the welfare of the community they wish to change forever? This community belongs to the residents of Hopkinton. If Avangrid Renewables cares about the community, they will build their project within the scope of the proposed wind law without hesitation. There is a lot of effort by Avangrid to try and buy the support of the residents everywhere when a multi-billion-dollar company can't convince the majority of their good intentions without offering them monetary incentives. Wind farm or no wind farm, do not sell yourself short. You are intelligent people that do not need the infinite wisdom of a multi-billion-dollar company telling you what is best for you. Protect your community, make it what you believe it should be, not when someone else suggests it could be. If a wind farm is meant to be, it will happen within the scope of your law. I wish you the best with the tough decisions you are facing, and I'm hopeful that the future of your community, as you know, it is protected and respected by those who wish to become a part of it. Respectfully, Rodney Botra.
Just so everyone knows, I did allow Kelly to read that because Rodney would have been here to read it himself, but he had a death in his family. So, Lori. Oh. No, go ahead, and then I'll let Ron go.
I'm sorry, but I had received 2 emails that they asked me if I would read them if they didn't get read publicly. So the first one is from Richard Grover. Supervisor Wood, I am not a resident or property owner in Hopkinton, but I do have a valid interest in the proposed industrial wind energy project in your community. I own 2 homes on Trout Brook in the town of Stockholm, about 5 miles north of the proposed project. I lived there for 27 years before moving to Canton in 1998. I love and respect this brook so much so that I spread the ashes of my son and my mother upon its clear and beautiful waters. In the 47 plus years I have owned these properties, I have gone to great extremes to protect Trout Brook through careful design, construction, and land management practices. The headwaters of Trout Brook are located in the town of Hopkinton, precisely where the wind energy project is proposed to be developed. Its clear and beautiful waters are threatened by this project and the land clearing, access road building, and construction activities that will be required. Responsible action by the town of Hopkinton is essential to protect these sacred lands and waters. Please do not permit any part of the wind energy project to be developed in the pristine headwaters of Trout Brook. Thank you. The second email is also brief, so I should be able to fit it in. Dear Sue Wood, I am a seasonal resident at Lake Adonia and a lifetime resident of Northern New York. Please read this email as part of tonight's public hearing. Please have my words entered into the meeting minutes. I am against expansion of the wind overlay zone south of State Route 72. Honestly, I am against the whole project for economic, community, health, and environmental reasons. I have followed this project since it began. Thank you to the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board for their work on this project. It is time for the town board to acknowledge and respect the hard work of the advisory board and adopt the wind law and the wind overlay zone map, excluding the property south of State Route 72, as is the advisory board's recommendation. Thank you for all of your work. Paula Umel, Potsdam, and Hopkinton residents. Thank you.
Some of the names of the emails that I received today against the project and recommending that we vote as the Hopkinton Wind Advisory Board recommends Nancy Horan, Barbara Murray, Sandy Main, Richard Grover, Arthur Luker, Susan White, Connie Vitale, Mark Eagles, Mark Eagles, and then Chris Gardner, but he was in support of the project.
We also have 27 others.
Yes, the 27 others that were received previously. And then all of these that were received tonight. Ronnie?
Yes, I got a question. When does this thing come to a vote?
We're not answering questions tonight, but we plan on, hopefully at the April board meeting.
So if it comes yes or no, is the ball game over, or are we going to continue on punting the ball down the road?
I don't know, that's up to the wind company if they want to follow the rules.
No, it's not. It's kind of hot kick, isn't it?
If we pass the
Either
wind.
way, if yes, then it goes. If no, it's not. Send their asses home.
Way to go,
I have no words for it. Anyone else? If not, yes.
I don't have anything to say. Joe Keys, Hopkinton.
Could you step forward?
I'd just like to see a show of hands of everybody who's
No.
passing
No.
the proposed.
We're not going to do that. Strike that. If that's it, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
No wind turbine.
Go home, Avangrid.
Try to make the motion. Sue second. All in favor?